Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic video. It is about it's Wednesday morning at about 9:36. Hope everyone's doing good. I've been really excited about doing some of these videos. I've been mixing them up. I just did a show on Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I had mentioned in a couple other videos that I don't feel like, as much as I love science fiction, and my favorite genres are science fiction and horror. Horror being my favorite, which is pretty obvious to anybody who's checked out these videos. But I love when both of those genres are blended together and it's seamless. But I never feel like I've done. I don't feel like I've done enough science fiction movies. So I'm trying to be, I guess, a little bit mindful of that because science fiction has a tremendous, you know, inspiration for me, and I love science fiction to death. So I'm trying to get to do. I'm trying. I have lots of science fiction movies, and so I'm trying to do more of those. And so yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I did a show on 1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, directed by Steven Spielberg. One of the most iconic movies in that genre ever. So yeah, check out that video if you get a chance. I'm trying to mix things up all the time. I'm looking forward to try to do some more interviews. I really love the video that I was able to do about Black Christmas. So we'll see what happens. I'm trying to do some more things like that in the future. And stay tuned for other news and other things that will be happening in the world of Film Fanatics. So again, I have discovered, like I always say, I talk about my habits a lot of when I go shopping for movies. I go to Bull Moose quite a bit, and I usually always try to purposely go there with the intention of buying exploitation movies. They have an amazing selection. They have all kinds of movies there, all kinds of DVDs, all kinds of Blu-rays, tons of Blu-rays. I go to the one in Waterville. It's the best one around overall. But I try to really focus on buying the more obscure movies, the more cult-based exploitation movies, just because they're so rare. A lot of those films I grew up watching, and I just love. That's my overall my favorite genre of filmmaking. And I also feel like a lot of these movies are so rare that they could just disappear someday. So I'm trying to, on one hand, trying to snatch up as many of those movies as I can just as a collector, but also being a huge fan of those movies. I, want to really, I've been wanting to really beef up my library when it comes to all things obscure for a while, and I feel like I'm starting to get there. I have a pretty good collection of real low budget exploitation movies, especially in the horror genre. I've been getting more. Also, I've been getting more giallo films. I've been getting a lot of sex exploitation films. Just really great, and I love all things exploitation to death. So that's usually what I do. And then when I go to Goodwill a lot in Rockland, Maine, and typically I buy. They have a really great used Blu-ray selection. I Every time I stop in there, and I'm down in that area fairly often, I usually always pick up at least one or two new movies. Sometimes I luck out and I get a bunch, but they have all used Blu-rays and they have a really good selection. And stuff doesn't last there very long, so I try to, when I'm down there, I try to stop in there, and usually the prices are super cheap. So, but I typically, whenever I go there, the style of movies that I typically get are, typically they have the more big budget Hollywood movies. I've gotten I've really beefed up, and pretty much, it's pretty much completed. It's almost there. There's still more I want to get, but like for instance, the Avenger movies and the Marvel movies, I have gotten tons of those films there, and my collection is pretty much where I want it to be as far as the movies that I love in that style. And, they also have other bigger budget Hollywood movies. I love those kinds of films also. And so they don't have very much as far as, the exploitation movies. But I went there on Sunday and I got a bunch of movies actually. They had a really great selection. And I typically don't I try not to buy DVDs anymore just because it takes up a lot of space. I still do buy DVDs, but my main focus is Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray, because of the quality. And usually they're for the most part they're packed with all kinds of special features. So that's my jam. So, but I do buy DVDs every now and then, and every now and then I find movies at Goodwill that I'm just totally blown away by. Case in point is this collection right here. This is a collection of all of these really obscure uh, exploitation movies, and I was super excited. I got this for $1, and it has three werewolf movies from the '60s and '70s that I've never seen before, and it's 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 awesome. It's totally awesome. It's a three movie package. It's got three movies on it. It's called the Midnight Monster series, and I just started watching this. I'm almost done with the second film, which is just awesome. And these are like really old, obscure werewolf movies from like the '60s and '70s, and they're pure like horror exploitation movies. I was super surprised, and it was $1. So, again, the quality isn't great, especially with this movie that I'm watching now. That I'm going to do a review for it tomorrow. But the movie is so awesome. I I'm really looking forward to doing a review on this film, on the film that I'm watching right now. So stay tuned for that. But every now and then I come across stuff like this there, and I'll buy it, even if it's on DVD. If it's like $1 for three movies, and I got this other horror collection too, while I was down there, which is like a kind of a generic horror pack. It's got ten horror movies on it, and it was $3. And it's got some really good movies on here. I was really excited. It's got the original Puppet Master, which is an amazing movie. Uh, just so great. It's got the original Prom Night with Jamie Lee Curtis, a really awesome slasher movie. It's got quite a few movies on here, so I'm super excited about watching this. And this was only $3, and it looks like it's pretty good quality. So very much excited to eventually watching these films again. And then the other thing I got, which I'm really curious about, I got it for $10, and I'm really super excited to watch this. There's I found this documentary called Never Sleep Again, and it's a documentary all on the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and it looks really good. It's got two discs, two full discs. Is a movie, the documentary itself, and special features, and it's all about the creation and all things Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's got all these interviews with Wes Craven. So it was $10, but it looks like a really big, interesting documentary. So I bought this there. I mean, it's just, you never know, and it's DVD, of course, but what the hell, So I still do buy DVDs when I come across really good deals like this, and they're really cheap. Even if the quality's not great, I'll happily add it to my collection, especially something like this. Like, this is awesome. So one of the movies, the first movie I watched, and again, this is a total like horror exploitation movie. My favorite style. The first movie of this series that I'm going to do a review of all of these movies on here, on this disc. And this movie is called Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory, and it came out in 1961. It's a total, super low budget Italian exploitation movie. werewolf movie, and it's awesome. Like it's actually really really good. I finished it. I finished watching it last night, and I'd never seen it before. Super obscure, 1963. It's an Italian movie. It was directed by Paolo Hayosh. Can't really pronounce his name, but it's really really good. It's super uber low budget. It's definitely dubbed with English actors and English voices, but it's still great. It's like it's again, it's pure exploitation. It's super low budget, but it's actually really really good. It's got these two interesting stories where basically it's kind of got these two stories going on back to back where there's this it's the centerpiece is this girls school, and there's this werewolf on the rampage killing these women. But then there's also this little side story of where there's this guy who appears to be like a slasher serial killer, and he's killing these women and drugging them and kidnapping them, and he kills them. And so you have those two stories going on, and then there's also the the there's a group of doctors that are finding the bodies, and they're trying to figure out who is killing these women. They're doing all of these series of tests, and then there's also this group of police officers or detectives or main characters that are trying to investigate what's going on in both cases, and it's very interesting. And then both of the stories kind of come together at one point, and the story itself is really good. The other thing I like about this movie is that the werewolf is actually pretty good. Like the design of the beast is actually pretty cool. It's super cheesy and super low budget, but it's actually pretty good. And the cool thing about it is they don't show the werewolf a lot. There's like kind of a climactic ending where he is very much a part of the story and he goes kind of on this rampage. But it's kind of happening for the most part in the story where it's a little bit of the backstory. It's the main focus because these killings are happening, but the main focus seems to be on the characters who are living in this dormitory, and also the doctors and the people who are investigating these crimes. And they don't really show the werewolf until you're into the movie quite a bit, which I think is cool because it really kind of goes into that less is more thing. When you do see the beast finally and he is revealed, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty impressive. And again, never seen this movie before, and and I'm blown away that this came out in 1962. Like it's actually really good. I would definitely be interested if I came across and found this movie on Blu-ray. I would totally buy it. But it's like again, it's pretty cheesy. It's definitely an exploitation movie, super uber low budget, but it's actually really good. The story is actually really original, and it doesn't have it goes into some directions, and there are some twists and turns in the film of where it doesn't go into areas that you think it would go into, which I thought was cool. It's definitely a horror movie. It's definitely a werewolf movie, but it has an interesting thing where the werewolf, like I said, is a little bit more in the background, and you don't really see him, and people are trying to find out what's going on, and they're investigating, and they're under, and there's also this kind of interesting uh, suspense around when they're trying to investigate who this werewolf is, because they're during the doctors and the police and the people who are living in the dormitory, during the investigation they come across these two men who are suspects of being who they think is either the serial killer or this werewolf. And there's a lot of twists and turns around that. Like you're not really sure who the killer is or who the beast is. And I thought that was really cool. And that's kind of the focus of the story. And then the killings are kind of happen in the background. So the story is actually pretty good, and it doesn't have it doesn't have the typical predictable tropes that you would see in a monster movie or a werewolf movie. It's that you would typically see in a werewolf movie. It's very cool and very surprised and totally worth the dollar I paid for this. Like crazy, and I love that it's 1962, 63, 1962. It's crazy how old this freaking movie is. I love that it's an Italian movie too, and it's dubbed. It was all shot used. They used all Italian actors. It was shot in Italy, and all of the voices are dubbed in English. But it's still pretty good, and the story I think is strong enough that you can understand what's going on, and the acting is actually really good. A pretty high quality horror exploitation movie. I'm pleasantly surprised, and I enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed it. And again, like I said, if I came across this movie, I would, if I came across like a Blu-ray edition of this movie, I would snatch it up. So yeah, very cool. Um, Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory, 1962. Definitely check it out if you want to see some super obscure exploitation movies from the 60s, especially in the Italian world. I had never heard of that movie, of this movie before. There's one movie on here that I did hear about, and I'm going to be doing a show on that tomorrow. But yeah, Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory, 1962. It's an Italian horror exploitation movie. Really good. Very, very surprised. I was impressed. And a great little addition to my exploitation collection. So thanks again. And if you like this channel, please subscribe and keep the comments coming. And we will see you next time. Peace.